In this Academy tutorial video, we're going to be demonstrating how to match some of the Foilco range of foils. So I subscribe to the Foilco website and I get sent these lovely little samples through the post. Now they also have what I would call the big beast foil system. They have hundreds of foils in a massive big volume, but today we're just going to be focusing on gold. So what colour is gold? Well, gold comes in many shades of foil. You have rich golds, pale gold, rich pale golds, and as you can see here, gold spanning across a whole range from like these lemon colours, champagne, you've got this Astral Plus with this metallic flake inside it. You've got this slightly brushed version here, this Scova gold, Library, which is kind of like a traditional rich gold. Summer's got that kind of like that warmth to it, Alchemist, and then this one here, Molten. Now, each of these golds here is a classic example. So what I love about Foilco is that they send out these samples for designers to use. So this little spinny disc thing, you can spin it around, you can see the colour against a grey neutral background, which is fantastic. It shows that they understand their game. You know, when you put a neutral colour behind the background, it shows off the foil better. But also not just, like I say, about the colour, but the texture of it, or the effect built into it. So brushed metals, molten, the astral flake, etc. And that's the reason why V3R was designed. So we allow designers using our software to match any type of foil colour or effect, or at least get you as close as possible to it. Now, there are potentially up to thousands of different foil colours spanning across different industries, whether it's from the graphic arts over to more onto like a cosmetic side, and you got to be able to do that. So if you have a software that only shows you one gold foil, one blue foil, one red foil, then ultimately you're more than likely going to be designing and visualizing in the wrong colour. So what's the point? What is the point of having software if you cannot get a better approximation of how that will look? So what we've done here is we've basically taken this little spinny disc. I just took some images of the disc with my phone. It's nothing special. I then just created a little wedge, and we've then gone in and matched up those foil colours inside V3R. Now I will say that some of the effects are out of our reach at the moment, that being the new Molten effect. We have something similar. It's our cloud system texture, but it isn't going to be an absolute match. But it doesn't mean we can't do it, because all we need to do now is code in a new effect for that Molten effect, and then we'll have something that will match. So for now, we're just going to simulate it with the clear. Now, I will say that when you're working with foils, it's all about getting the surface appearance, the colour, reflectivity, and whatever's in your room is going to reflect off you. So we have a static room environment inside here. So we can see here that when we move it around, we've got like the brushed metals, this molten effect. So we're going to end up doing the one that's not been set up yet. So the one that's not been done is Astral Plus, which is this one up at the top here. So what we're going to do is we're going to set that up. Now, just to be aware that we can change all of these different things. So just a quick demonstration of what we can do with the foils. So if we look at the Foilco, we have that here on a coloured background and also on a white background. So at the moment it's just called foil, so it doesn't know what colour it wants to be. So we do have some defaults built in here, like gold. Now, what colour is gold? Exactly what we're showing here. This page and this sample from Foilco is an absolutely outstanding example of why you can't just have one coloured foil. So what we allow you to do is be able to colour your foil to whatever it needs to be. Is it kind of like more like a greyish foil? Has it got a little bit more yellow to it? How does that foil look? Now, beyond there, we can also change the appearance of that foil. So let's say this is kind of our foilish colour. Well, we also have surface texture, microscopic surface texture in the foils. We have the metalness, so basically how metallic looking is it? We also have the reflection strength, so how reflective is that? And by playing around all this stuff, we can actually set all that foil up. Now, maybe I decide I'm in designing something and I look at that and go, gold doesn't really work. Would bronze work? Well, actually, yeah, it looks pretty cool. We can flip it over to a bronze inside the artwork and play around with it. Now, we can also simulate hot foil stamping. So hot foil stamping will put on that highlight and shadow edge into your foil. so that when you actually are visualizing it does look like it's pressed into the page, just as foil stamping would do. So we can simulate that. We can also put on foil textures, so different textures. So for example, we have Stardust. It's like our version of the Astral Plus. So that's in there. We can then change the strength. So if I now basically just zoom right in, and let me just move across here so we can see what's going on. Let's put on that hot foil stamping edge. Let's put the Stardust up quite high. So we can change the pattern scale and everything else. So we've now got this sparkly, reflective foil texture in there to match. And then we can flip it over to something else. Does it look better with red? Does it look better with gold? We can play around with all that. We also have the ability to, well, let me just show you some others. You know, we've got the brushed metal that comes in here, so you've got that sort of like brush look instantly. And again, we can change pattern strength and everything else. So we can match things like this Escova Gold by putting a very subtle brushed effect inside there. And if you want to, we can also change the angle of the grain of there as well. So let's just turn that off for now. So keep it on with the foil. Let's take off the hot foil stamping. What we can also do is raised 3D foil. So if you are using a raised 3D foil system whereby you put down a varnish which is domed, you put it through the foiler and the foil sticks on top and you create 3D raised foil, we can do the same thing. Switch on the 3D raised foil, boom, it's done. We've got it sorted out. We've got some defaults in here. You can change the bevel width. So if it's super beveled, you can sort all that out. We can drop it down. Everything that has structure and height has shadow and highlight, so if we want to, we can actually lift the shadow point and also the highlights to bring it off the page even more. You know, we can really kind of go to town with how this really looks. Just bear in mind that the higher it is, the more shadow it's going to cast. So we can create super realistic, and also if those foils were textured, we could actually bring in a texture inside there as well. So we can now have 3D raised foil with texture. Now beyond there, we can also have holographic foil. So we can actually turn that into a rainbow holographic foil. So rainbow holographic foil, we're still going to keep that structure, the 3D raised effect inside there. This time we've got a new set of sliders. So it's grouped with this little blue line that basically says that's kind of like the grouping for that section. So coverage variation is the main one. How much of the image that we're looking at the moment shows with silver foil and how much shows that rainbow? Because rainbow isn't just kind of like full-on rainbow all the time. You're going to have some variation in the material. So you can see in this area here, we've got more color coming through. This area, we've got more of the silver foil. So we can play around with that and find a little sweet spot of how we want to work with the system. Now we've got the rainbow vibrancy. How much color and saturation goes into it. Now I'm going to whack this up and down so you can see it on the screen. Now we also have rainbow frequency. This is how quickly the modulation of the color is going to change. So we can increase it and decrease it. We can find a little sweet spot. And then we've got pattern complexity. So this is kind of like, do you have like a flat color that's going to transition smoothly? So if we move this, it will go flat color from like, you know, the reds over into the blues, into the greens, etc. Or if we added some complexity, it's going to create this kind of like holographic rainbow oil on water kind of effect where we get some real kind of interesting effects happening, but it matches more like a foil. So we can go to the nth degree of how we want to set up and match all these different foils, and we're constantly adding more to this software. Another piece of software that we're developing right now is called Chaos Prism. It's part of the Chaos system that we developed, so part of V3R is part of the Chaos system. And what we do with the Chaos Prism is we're designing actual holographic materials. So that will be used as a base material. We could also use it as a spot foil. So that will be coming out, so things like this will be becoming much more realistic. So do check out our other videos on LinkedIn, some sneak peeks at what's coming out, because the holographic stuff is really, really cool. It's a proprietary file format with our own software that we're developing, and it will only work inside V3R software. So let's jump in and match this Astral Plus, because it's the last one that we wanted to do. So I'm going to go to the Astral Plus foil separation. When it comes in as a custom color because it doesn't recognize Astral Plus foil. It says, what do you want to do with it? So I'm just going to go click on the color picker just to get me somewhere close. I'm going to use the color picker and I'm going to go over here and just pick up a color. It's not really right because we've got shading and everything else because of all these pixels, but that's fine. We're going to use it as a starting point. Now let's switch on our Stardust. Now let's whack up the Stardust strength. Let's give it nice and strong. Let's see if we can try and get it where we are with the light and shade. So what I'm looking for here when I'm doing this, let me just zoom in, just a bit easier to see on the screen. Get it into the light. Now we can move lighting around, so we can move the lighting down so we get it looking better on our screen when we're doing our visuals. Okay, so we're now focusing between these two. So I've kind of got the shading right. So that was done using the what was it? The pattern strength in here. So if we go too high, it's going to go very intense and granular, kind of like highlight shadow kind of pixel. We're going to bring that down to match a little bit more realistic, slightly softer. Pattern scale looks about right, and maybe bring it down a little bit so we can scale that texture inside there. Direction doesn't really make any difference on this one, but we can rotate the direction of that texture. Now what we're going to do is fine tune the colour. So at the moment we've got this kind of like more of a palish kind of colour. So we're going to need to add some more colour to it. So we're going to boost up the colour going this direction. And we're starting to get there. Maybe we need to go a little bit warmer. So down here on the bottom slide, I'm just going to pull this over slightly, somewhere around about there. So let's just say that's what we're happy with. Let's just reset that down. Let's reset the view. Let's go back to our viewing controls and put that back to where it was, so it's kind of like more natural in the room. So I can move my lighting around. So anyway, when I now move it, I've now got my brushed Escova Gold, I've got my Astral Plus, I've got a champagne colour in there. And if you then look at it and go, actually, some of these are not quite right, it's a little bit too shiny, we can change the metalness, so maybe make it a bit more grey, bring down the reflectivity. So all of these things can be changed and affected. And do bear in mind that what's inside my room environment in this software is reflecting from the design. So we're never going to get a perfect match, but you can see here, shading down here on this Alchemist one is a very kind of like natural match to it, and colour's pretty close in the highlights. That's what we're looking for. The one that I did mention, the Molten one, we've got a crazy effect going in there. It's not the same as the Molten one because Foilco's only just brought that one out, so we will try and match it. But you know, we do get requests from customers. If you have any requests that you want to see added into the V3R software, do let us know. But like I said, the future is going to be on the holographic side, cast and cure. We're going to be adding depth, the back pane rendering to this. We're going to be adding in folds and packaging, 3D packaging, etc. And of course, you can always do an image capture and capture whatever you want out, or make a movie and send it out to a client for approval. And as you can see, you know, we can swing it around and move it on the screen. You can also add in your logos. We just dropped in the Foilco logo here and the URL for Foilco down at the bottom. So when you are sending something out to a customer, it does have your information on it. So there you go. Gold is more than just one colour. If you've only got one colour, you've got it wrong. There are so many foils out there. Foilco, in this particular sample that they sent through on the back of this thing, it says they have 50 shades of gold. It's like 50 shades of grey. 50 shades of gold. So 50 shades of gold. You can't just have one gold on your computer screen. So that's why V3R allows you to visualize and match all of these different types of effects. And move the print, something might change. You can see, like, look at this Escova Gold. We're now picking up the reflectivity of that brushed metal. We even simulated the direction to match the image that we took as well. So there you go. That is what we do with V3R. If you're interested in a demo version of the software, go to the V3R website. That's www.v3r.studio. 14-day unrestricted trial, no credit cards, no restrictions, no watermarks, nothing. Get full access to everything. If you have any questions, drop us an email at hello@v3r.studio. And thanks to Foilco for sending these samples through. Really appreciate it. We will be doing another video later on your big boy, the beastie version of your system that you have, because that is just, it's just insane. But stay tuned for that one.